Alright, hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about a recent bug that came out of the beta patch 1.4 and why it's actually a good thing in my opinion, right? So what's the bug? So pretty much a lot of people, especially on Reddit, they've been having pretty much a problem with garrisons, pretty much right here, right? The militia just is going out of control. Pretty much there's some castles that have even close to 2,000 militia. Like I'm going to show you a picture that I got from Reddit. It's going to be on the screen right now, and as you can see, this guy, he has, as you can see, one castle that has 1,800 militia, and the other one has also 1,800, so close to about 2,000, like I said before. And yeah, people aren't liking this. People aren't enjoying the fact that they can't really attack this castle for anything. But now, let me explain something. Before I explain it, I have my full script. I'm gonna read off it a little bit and then talk about it more. But it's gonna be on the screen right now, and you can it's also gonna be in the description, so you can translate and do whatever you guys want with it, right? But here's pretty much why I think it's a good idea to have huge garrisons, right? That's pretty much what I'm gonna be talking about, right? So pretty much how this was caused, right? So let's talk about the cause first and then why it's good, right? So the cause was on the 1.4 patch. One thing we got was when we talk about the granaries right here. Granaries have been very much boosted very high. Level 3 of granaries usually gives between, I think it's 300 for castles and 600 for towns. What that means is like the capacity of how much food you can hold in a castle or a town is hugely increased, because it used to be 30 and 60. Now it's 300 and 600, right? So you can hold a lot more food, right? Also, in the 1.3 hotfix that came out pretty much a day before the patch 1.4, there was AI Lord's balance thing where they pretty much got better taxes and they managed their garrison better. But I guess something went wrong in the coding, because they have a lot more militia now. Like a lot more militia. As you can see, the militia score for this castle right here that I'm on is part of the problem. Look at how much militia I'm going to be getting per day. As you can see, here's pretty much the problem, right? Now, it's a problem if it's every single castle in every single town, right? That's the problem. And that's what it's looking out to be. Like, it's going to be that way, right? But I think it's a good concept. I think it's a good concept because if some reworking is done and some changes are made, I feel that some castles and some towns having like a lot of I'm gonna say defenders, right? Because if they do kind of make this actual game concept, you don't want them all to be militia, right? But I feel like what do you call it? If there was big garrisons of like 2,000, like the one I showed you before, and small garrisons, I think that'd be very good for the ecosystem and the late game. So let's talk about currently. Currently, before this patch, a good town would have about 400 to 600 defenders. 600 or more would be a really great town, right? And then a good castle would have between 250 to 350 defenders, and above that would be a very good castle, right? So these numbers are really good numbers, right? Pretty much mid to late game, you'll be kind of, it'll still be kind of a challenge, but here's the problem. Once you gain your own kingdom, and let's say you're in the position to start an army, and you have so much people, like look, I could start an army with the first, what is that, 9 people, and I already have close to the strength of 2,600 men. So what this means is I can take over 5 or 6 castles with that, 5 or 6 towns with those numbers of troops. So those good towns and castles, pretty much, the ones that have 400 to 600 defenders, or the castles with 250 to 350, they become super easy late game. Like late game, when you have your own kingdom and you start taking over things, right, it becomes very easy to take those castles, and you can pretty much, in one good war, you can wipe out a whole what do you call it, a whole kingdom just like that, and then you could win the game in like the next good 2 hours of playtime. So pretty much I think if this bug turned into an actual game concept where it didn't go out of control like it is now, right? But it actually implemented like huge strongholds, right? So let's say out of this map, let's say every fifth town was a huge town that had over 2,000 defenders. I think, in my opinion, that would be a good change. I feel like if every kingdom started out with like 1 or 2 strongholds, right, they would not get wiped out as soon. Sturgia would not get wiped out as soon as they always do in every single game, right? If there was strongholds, and what I mean by strongholds, let's say castles with about 1,000 defenders, right? Not everyone, not every castle. I'm talking about, let's say, out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out of these 5 castles, you make this one right here, the one with 1,000, let's say, defenders, right? And the other ones are going to be 100. This one's going to be 300, 500. I feel like that fluctuation in numbers will make it more exciting of a game, right? Because let's say early game you want to take over this area, right? Where you're going to have to start building around. You might take this one, then you might take this town, but you can't take this castle because you don't have enough army yet. So you're going to have to start building around, right? And I think it's going to make for better gameplay. I think it's going to make for a lot better gameplay. And it's going to force you to make actual, smart decisions of, hey, this castle is a stronghold, and let's say this town is a stronghold. So I can't go down, I have to go right for right now, right? And then eventually, once I build up the force, once I get enough clans to join, because you're going to have to get clans to join if you want to defeat these huge strongholds, right? And, you're going to get clans, and it's going to make the end game a little bit longer. It's going to make you grind more. It's not going to become a snowball fest where you pretty much, once you reach a certain amount, you can just take over the whole map, right? Because I feel like earlier versions, it was so much easier to take over the whole map than it is now, right? And I feel like if we keep putting concepts like these, well, obviously this wasn't a concept, this is a bug, right? But if they did actually make this into an actual game feature where every 5th town was a huge town, right? Or every 5th castle was a huge stronghold castle with between 1,000 2,000 troops, I think that would be very, very good of a change. I know people might disagree with me, but in my opinion, the late game, as you can see, I took over the whole map, right? The late game, so the early game, obviously, it's a grind to get the first workshops and the first caravans and this and that, right? And then obviously when you get your first fief to defend it, to make peace. But what I found is, I started right here on this town, right? Once I took over like this part of the map, this other 60% of the map, like I took about 40% of the map right here, right? This other 60% of the map was cake. It was nothing, like it was super easy. All I had to do was just take one kingdom at a time. The kingdoms that started war with me, I just make peace with them and I just keep going, right? But if we had these huge garrisons like I'm talking about, right, I would be stopped at different places. Like if this was a huge garrison, I'd be stopped here, And then also the kingdoms would survive for longer. They would have, more survivability. Like let's say the Sturgians, they started with 2 garrisons because, to be honest, they didn't even need 3. Let's be honest. They're not really surviving for long. They get this area, if I'm not mistaken, up here, right? Why not give them a stronghold here and a stronghold here so they can hold on for a little bit longer? And stuff like that. I feel like we should be able, to have that as part of the game or even as a mod. But yeah, that's my pretty much, my call to action to the devs or to any modders. I think it would really help the end game because the end game, in my opinion, it's not like Warband. It's a lot different. Once you take over the whole map, it's kind of hard to do anything else. Yes, you can kick all the clans. Like I could kick all the clans out of my out of my kingdom, and then they could fight me. But there's also some bugs that happen when, it comes to fighting. And as you can see, all these kingdoms I defeated, they'll never grow back. They'll never grow back because the strength of my kingdom is crazy. So yeah, I think they should definitely add the strongholds or something that has to do with strongholds. Because once you surpass a certain amount in the game, you really can't be defeated, and you and like every single siege you do it's just gonna win regardless. You could send troops, because at this point I could just create an army, send troops each time, lose a huge amount, and just call another dude to my army. You know what I mean? But yeah, that was my little, I wouldn't call it a rant. I would call it kind of like a discussion. Let me know what you think. If you think this is a good idea, should there be kind of strongholds? Should there be small and big castles, right? Should there be, you know, that fluctuation in garrisons? I think it's a good discussion. I think it would really help the end game. But let me know what you think. Let me know any questions you have. And yeah, like always, stay safe.